This is Dead Serious, a show about short horror stories worthy of discussion. I'm Dead Palette, and I'm reading some spin pasta stuff. Wow. Really kind of groggy and tired. I got my coffee num-nums right here to wake me up. Tito tasters. Today, we are going to be looking at a story. You already know what it is, so I don't know why I'm delaying the inevitable of telling you what it is. I should say that I am recording this, the Monday that this is going up is a Tuesday, so I'm recording this the day before. I believe? Yes. I have not recorded a Dead Serious in so goddamn long, guys. Months and months and months. And so you haven't noticed the difference because I keep putting them up 5 out of every 7 days. But man, I'm rusty. So you're going to have to bear with me. A little behind the scenes stuff. Anyway, we're reading something from the Spin Pasta Wiki. So to refresh you on what that is, they are a wiki dedicated to spin-offs of the more well-known creepypastas such as Jeff the Killer, Lavender Town Syndrome, Herobrine, Smile.Dog, Squidward Suicide, among others. Lost episodes, haunted game files, Mario, Sonic, Zelda, Pokemon, My Little Pony, and their pastas are welcome here. So that's the thing that's kind of interesting about the actual creepypasta site, Wikia, is that they're not accepting those kinds of stories, which is understandable because they get an abundance of them. So where do they go? They go to this dumping ground. But, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and we have found stories here, sparingly so, that are treasure, that do have original ideas, and so we're going to be analyzing a story entitled My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Goodwill DVD. I saw this, it immediately caught my attention, and I scrolled down and saw a picture that just fucking broke me. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw it. I laughed for a good solid 3 minutes. It's incredible. So I'm expecting this to be a shit show, but that doesn't mean that it necessarily will be, and even if it is, doesn't mean that we can't glean something important from this story that will be beneficial to you and your writing endeavors. So let's get into this. Not safe for work. The following page contains stuff that may not be safe for work. Please read with precaution. All right. I live in the middle of nowhere in the state of Pennsylvania in a small hick town known as Clearfield. Did I go to Clearfield? Yeah, I think I went to Clearfield on my summer adventure. I think we passed through there. I don't think I've set foot in there, but I've set wheel in there. The only real business we got are hunters and people traveling to Penn State University. So we do not have much in the lines of real business. We have many local and chain restaurants along with Pennsylvania's largest gun shop, but there are no real entertainment stores, and many of us are under the poverty line. Along with that, Clearfield County is very large in square footage and spread out. So that's something interesting. Recently, I went to pick up Sober with Chelsea Soberdorf, so we could hang out for the weekend and everything. And we went to where he lives, and there's just nothing to do there. And I'm inside all the goddamn time, but man, I don't know how people live when they don't live in the big city. You need to get out there and do some cool stuff. You need to do an escape room, or you need to go to a cute coffee place or whatever. There was just nothing. The most exciting thing they had is a dollar store and abandoned buildings. So this is very relatable. Not at all the train wreck that I was expecting the first paragraph to be. This is very relatable. I'm into this. It's in the middle of the mountain ranges, so it can take hours just to get from one end of the county to the other, especially to those who live in the mountains. It was winter at the time of this happening, and there was a foot of snow on the ground, and the roads were icy, so it took even longer to get anywhere. I live in area of Girard or Goshen, deep in the mountains. Most of the kids I go to high school with are rednecks and hillbillies, and so many of them would poke fun at me if they knew I were a brony. Yep, something you don't see very often, a redneck brony. Well, I don't know. I think I've met a good number of redneck bronies in my day. But then again, I've been to My Little Pony conventions. No, I don't think that that's too uncommon. I think that you could probably temper this by saying you don't know many rednecks that will show their power level, as it were, about being a brony. Because there are so many hicks here, there is not much one can find in our local stores related to My Little Pony. Again, I don't know. There's a lot of chain stores that have like My Little Pony merch all over the place. If you mean like really nice My Little Pony stuff, like the artisanal My Little Pony dolls or something, then maybe you're gonna have problems, but you can find My Little Pony stuff just about anywhere. It's like Starbucks. One would have to go all the way to DuBois, which is on the okay, so that's something I've definitely been to DuBois, because Chelsea and I kept commenting about all the road signs that said DuBois on our way to Centralia, just DuBois, which is on the far edge of the county. In order to get anything related to MLP FIM, I was at the so-called Clearfield Mall, though you cannot really call it a mall, since it's just a plaza with glass hallways in front of an arcade. I was at the Goodwill store. I'm not living in poverty. I just go to the Goodwill to see if I could find some neat stuff like classic records or novels, and I was looking through the used DVD section. I came across a DVD case with no cover. I looked inside and saw there was a DVD inside labeled My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Princess Twilight Sparkle. Something seemed off about the labeling, like it may have been off-center. Nevertheless, I thought I might as well get it since I have a bad satellite signal at my place and can't always get the hub or internet, and would have trouble viewing this season 3 ending any other way without my parents knowing, this is in parentheses, they are hickish too and wouldn't understand. Not to mention, it was only $1.50. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. I gotta say though, we're 4 paragraphs in, and besides the I looked inside and saw there was a DVD inside, saying inside twice, this has been written competently. It's engaging to me. The title of the story alone, if I found it in the wild, would turn me off from it. But the 4 paragraphs that I've read so far are perfectly fine. I'm engaged. I'm interested. And I genuinely want to know, not in a train wreck sense, in a genuine sense, what's going to happen next. If you don't know, and I'm sure most people don't who aren't bronies, there's a character named Twilight Sparkle, and in the 3rd season, at the end of the 3rd season, she becomes a princess. So this is establishing a rough time when this is going down. Again, grounding itself in real problems of like parents that don't understand you, living in an area that is alienating to who you are or some aspect of your identity. Very relatable in, current year. Talking about having trouble getting the internet because you're in a hick town. All of these things are just working for me. Especially, DVD is just a little off center in its printing. Not any, it wasn't blood red or, just small little thing being off. It's working. Oh man, I really hope it keeps working. I took the DVD to the counter where I was wrung out by an old woman who exhibited early symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. That could be the author or that could be the character, but let's be real. I think the this person had Alzheimer's is kind of the author more so than the narrator. I gave her the $1.50 and she handed me the DVD. She asked me if I was getting the DVD for her sister, and I lied and said yes to her so she wouldn't ask me more. I then pulled out of the parking lot in my red Dodge pickup truck, what most people drive in the area, specifically red Dodge pickup trucks, and decided to head back home to Goshen. As I got halfway up the mountain, a snowstorm started and I lost most visibility. I was used to the typical snowstorm, but this storm seemed rather fierce. Luckily, I knew where I was at and knew it would only take 5 more minutes of driving on Gillingham Road to get to my place. Gillingham Road to get to my place. The storm got worse when I got to half a mile away from my home. So I pulled over and jumped out of, that's a good time to bring this up. There seems to just be like a little bit of clunkiness to everything written here, but it's not pervasive. It's really serviceable. It's just clunky, if that makes any sense. And you could chalk that up to the narrator or the author as well. Narrator if you want to be charitable, and author if you're not so charitable. So I pulled over and jumped out of the vehicle to get a bearing on my location. When I figured out where I was, which was by the old Gillingham Cemetery, I was just about to climb back into my vehicle when I saw something that caught my eye. It was a machine gun lying in the snow, the kind that would be illegal for civilians to own, not having any bit of snow covering, which I found odd since the storm had picked up, and the gun showed no signs of being covered, as if it were just placed there. Okay, well that's a very striking image. I do wonder how much gun knowledge this person will have. So they're talking about a machine gun. That's when you hear that, you gotta wonder whether the person saying machine gun knows what a machine gun is or not. They're growing up in a more rural area, and they know about where the largest gun shop in Pennsylvania is. I would assume they know a little bit. And they're talking about this kind of weapon being illegal for civilians to own. In what regard? Specifically, is it illegal? I don't know. Gun laws in America are really weird. Just don't get on your soapbox, Brandon. Don't get on your soapbox. So we'll see. Again, could be author, could be narrator. That is kind of like bothering me though. I want to know some details of what they mean by machine gun. I took a look at the muzzle and noticed there were traces of blood on it. I was not worried about my own being. I figured that it was probably being used to poach, which we get a lot. I was going to call the police, but I had no cell phone signal. Damn Verizon. So I drove on after the storm calmed down as sudden as it appeared, and the storm calmed down as sudden as it appeared. I drove a while. It was clear. I pulled into my driveway when the storm suddenly picked up again. I ran into my house with the DVD in hand. I unlocked the door and walked into my home. I was alone at the time since my father worked at the petroleum plant in Clearfield while my mom worked at the pharmacy in Frenchville. I was free to watch my DVD without ridicule by my family. Okay, yeah, we've all had that moment where your parents are, at work, and you can pop in the DVD and clop for watch My Little Pony. So I like that. I like the details about where they work. Again, Fleming effect out the ass. This story is actually impressing me in really bizarre ways that I wasn't expecting it to. Now we're getting into the happy aspect of this, where it has a heading that says episodes. And so it's going to go down that. I'm interested to see where this goes. I hope it doesn't get bogged down in too many unnecessary details. But we do have the question of who is this for? My Little Pony fans or people who don't know about My Little Pony? Because right now it's talking about, Princess Twilight Sparkle, and that being at the end of season 3. And that's shit that people who don't watch My Little Pony won't know about. So we're assuming that they're going down the road of this is for My Little Pony fans. The episode. I ran for the TV in my room and popped the DVD into my laptop because I figured with this weather I could lose power any moment now. The disc seemed to take forever to load. I feared I may have been scalped and got a bad disc. However, it eventually loaded and the program started. The DVDs seemed to work rather smoothly now. I watched all of the episode on the disc, which included Magical Mystery Cure, Season 3, Episode 13, Games Ponies Play, Season 3, 12, Magic Duel, Season 3, Episode 5, Mystery on the Friendship Express, Season 2 to Episode 24, Lesson 0, Season 2, Episode 3. Okay, so that's kind of implausible. The episodes are all over the place. But I've seen compilations of stuff like this before. They're just so happening. I can kind of see the story they're telling with the episodes they're selecting, however, because Lesson 0, Twilight Sparkle kind of goes insane. Magical Mystery Cure is when she becomes a princess. Magic Duel is like, not violent, but it's like, it's an episode that is, I don't know what's the term. Its conflict is a lot more real than some of the other conflicts. So it's kind of trying to pull at some of the edgier moments of My Little Pony to maybe construct a narrative. Anyway, I read about the DVD beforehand and knew that these were all the episodes on the DVD, right? Well, when I finished Lesson 0, a pop-up came on my laptop. Flutter.exe requires permission from the administrator to execute, or something like that. I had no idea what that meant, so I just clicked yes. From here, things started to get rather bizarre. On the bottom of right corner of the interesting caption, unaired episode 12-14-12. That seemed rather odd. The episode though, it appeared to be animated with the Lauren Faust style. Seemed rather off. Okay, now we're getting into struggling stuff, because Lauren Faust is the creator of the show, and they're saying, like, it's animated in the Lauren Faust style, but, Lauren Faust wasn't an animator on the show, so they're trying to show off their knowledge of My Little Pony without actually necessarily knowing about it. We'll see what happens. The first thing shown was a sad-looking Fluttershy staring into a mirror. The scene depicted numerous flashbacks that showed so quickly I had to pause and rewind at times. What I saw when I played them back slowly disturbed me. The first flashback was of Twilight Sparkle and Spike participating in a very sexually explicit activity, appearing to be on a screenshot of the Rule 34 game, Double the Fun. Oh, we're crossing that threshold of not returning. The next flashback was a short clip of Pinkie Pie passed out in her own urine, obviously drunk. The next clip was of Rarity, slut that she is, laying on top of the hospital bed while the doctor held a blurry mass of something in front of her. I paused there and took a screen cap. I pasted it into an art program and zoomed in on the blurry object. I used the program to clarify the blur. When I saw the final result, I was sickened. Okay, well, that was informative. I took a quick break to see what Double the Fun was, and I am thoroughly disturbed. It was incredible, though. The beginning starts off with Twilight Sparkle and Spike kissing so goddamn passionately. They're just so into it. Oh, concentrate, Brandon. So what was the blur? It was a bloody pony fetus with its head nearly destroyed and bloodied. Did Rarity have a partial birth abortion? I continued playing and saw the rest of the flashbacks. They included Applejack physically abusing Apple Bloom in a manner similar to that of the Nardiers towards Croissant in Les Miserables, and Rainbow Dash surrounded by dirty lab equipment. I got a good look at the product around her and figured out it was a meth lab and that the flashback implied that she was a meth maker. The flashback ended and I played the clip at normal speed again. Sinister sounding music started to play, the kind of music you would hear on Criminal Minds. Fluttershy started to show signs of anger, rage even. The next thing I saw, it was a still photo of her in what appeared to be a Kevlar vest. Oh, I love this image. She held a rather illegal-looking machine gun, looking exactly like the one I saw on the road earlier, only animated in the Lauren Faust style. She also had numerous machine gun rounds, knives, and handguns strapped around her. She wore night vision goggles. It was I was getting very concerned. Why would Lauren Faust show such demented imagery and violent objects on a kid's show? The next still photo was of Fluttershy with the vest off, and what I saw disturbed me. She wore a white t-shirt with the word natural selection written on it in black marker. Natural selection? Machine guns? Grenades? Knives? Oh boy. So right next to this are two images of Fluttershy's face angrily photoshopped on top of who is clearly the Virginia Tech shooter. Oh, this is why I needed to read this, guys. So gotta be careful with proceeding here, because I might cut myself on all of this edge. Also, I think most people know that Lauren Faust left the show after season 2, so this has nothing to do with Lauren Faust. Anyway, the first thing I saw was of the 1999 Columbine High School shooting. After 10 seconds of that still photo, it got back to motion. Fluttershy was shown leaving her house at night with her vest, t-shirt, gun, and other weapons. It zoomed in on the floor, where one could see her rabbit, Angel, laying on the floor, dead. On the floor. Angel was gored and bloodied. It was rather detailed, but still done in that Lauren Faust style. I did not like what I feared would happen next. Okay, so that's the name of Fluttershy's main pet is Angel. It's a bunny. Bearing that in mind, think about what that would look like. There's animation, and then 10 seconds of a still photo and then animation. That just doesn't make any sense when you really visualize it and think about how that would actually work out. I don't know whether this is a troll or not, but I'm going to err on the side of saying that it's not, because there are aspects to it where it seems like this person has a genuine idea in their head, or maybe they're writing a story to be a very problematic troll pasta. Problematic in the sense that it's really unclear whether it's genuine or not. That's kind of the thing about troll pastas, is that they're normally very obviously bullshit. And then there are stories that are so bad that they're good. This is really trying to toe a line somewhere in between. So I don't know if this is genuine or not. But we're going to press on. I haven't seen anything yet to conclusively tell me that this is a troll. Okay, so I just resumed the recording after a few hours because I was recording a secret podcast that'll come out sometime late next month, most likely. But I'm back recording dead serious, and I don't remember where I was emotionally with this story. I just remember that there was a lot to discuss and unpack, so let's press on. It then cut to the theme song of the show. It seemed rather normal, but something seemed off. I could tell the color was off, and duller than usual, and that the music seemed slightly flat enough to make me uneasy. When it got to the end of the theme, at the part where it says, developed for television by Lauren Faust, it flashed momentarily to a different name. I had to pause for a moment to get a glimpse of the name. What I saw scared me. Developed for television by Sung Hui Choi, in the typical font usually used, as if officially made. The Sing Hyung Choi, the Virginia Tech shooter, Sing Hyung Choi? I knew what would be coming in the episode could not be good. Alright, so the Virginia Tech shooter created My Little Pony. Friendship is witchcraft. Friendship is magic. Alright, well, everything seems legit about that. It cut to the next scene. It showed the Ponyville schoolhouse and students entering the building. Oh my god. For real. It seemed rather peaceful until the title of the episode came up. Flutterlanza. Oh my god. Oh, as in Adam Lanza. Amazing. I could not make out the rest of the personnel usually shown, but I didn't care. Flutterlanza? Is this some kind of sick joke? It made sense. Unaired episode 12-14-12, Flutterlanza, December 14th, 2012 was the day the Sandy Hook massacre took place, which was perpetrated by former student Adam Lanza. Okay, so the subject of mass shootings is a touchy subject, but let's think about that. Like, I am not offended by this. The issue I have is that it's not using the serious subject matter of school shootings in a serious way. And I think that its intention is to be serious. So, controversial thing, touchy subject, very serious subject matter being trivialized like this. Again, not offensive to me, but you should be careful if you are attempting to be serious with this kind of stuff. If you're just looking to offend people, whatever, offend people to your heart's content. But I don't think that that's the intention here. I think that this is a misguided attempt at seriousness, at gravity by invoking something that is very, gets to people, gun violence against children obviously will get to people, and get them emotionally riled up, but this is so cheap and flat. I like the detail of another episode 12-14-12, but that doesn't make sense. That doesn't fit with the format of season this, episode this, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's also just trying to reference as many mass shooters as possible, so we have Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, it's already been mentioned, the Columbine shooting and everything. It's coming on so hard, obviously, right? I got a sick feeling in my stomach, and I got a good idea for what it was for, what I was in for. As Cheerily started up at class with the door now closed, she took attendance as usual. The Cutie Mark Crusaders were doing their usual thing, while Snails and Snips sat there being stupid. The door to the schoolroom knocked. Cheerily walked up to the door. "Who is it? Do I have a late student?" Cheerily asked through the door. "It's Fluttershy." I'm not doing it right. "It's Fluttershy," stated the respectful, timid voice. "Could I come in real quick?" I kept telling Cheerily in my mind, "Don't open the door. Run for your life. Don't go in there. Don't open that door. No, the kill's on the other side." However, she tragically opened the door. As soon as she let the Pegasus in, Fluttershy started shooting at the schoolhouse, killing Cheerily first. You know what? Controversial opinion. I think Cheerily should have had a gun, because the only thing that stops a bad Pegasus with a gun is an Earth pony with a gun. She just waved her machine gun around, killing every student in sight. She did not aim at any pony. Oh, thank God. Yeah, didn't say anybody, said any pony, but just waved it like a mad mare. There was blood and dead students everywhere, except for the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Where were they? Fluttershy surveyed the room, searching for the missing Crusaders. The Cutie Mark Crusaders are the three main children in the show. She saw their hooves under their teacher's desk from the little slit at the bottom. It cut to the CMC, hiding in fear for their lives. Tragically, they would not make it. Fluttershy threw a grenade under the desk, and it immediately detonated, destroying the desk and mutilating the CMC rather graphically. It was a rather unrealistic explosion, and the sound of bodies crunching and splatting was rather gruesome, but it still looked like Lauren Faust's style animation. Yes, we get it. The animation style is consistent in its quality. I was grossed out, but I did not come close to vomiting. Oh, that's rare for a creepypasta narrator. Since I am used to seeing this kind of stuff. I hunt during deer season and saw many war movies. I was still appalled that this was even animated. Faust wouldn't animate something like this. Yes, obviously, she's not working for Hasbro at this point in time. But it looked so much like her style. Alright. The scene suddenly cut to Rainbow Dash, who was headed to Sweet Apple Acres to visit Applejack. What she saw struck her and me with terror. At the front gate, Granny Smith lay dead in a bloody mess. Rainbow Dash ran into the barn after realizing Granny Smith was dead. For fear of Applejack's life, her fears were confirmed. She took a look inside and saw Big Macintosh laying dead in a pool of blood. His intestines were strewn about and his eyes were gouged out. But what really disturbed me was the body of Applejack. She had everything Big Mac had, except all of her organs were pulled out. On her back, the words "child abuser" was carved into her flesh. Her face had a look of terror, as if she was caught by someone she did not expect. Rainbow Dash expressed sorrow for her fallen friend, but was caught by fear for her own life. Was she next? What was going on? From the shadows, Fluttershy entered. Rainbow Dash stared and feared. Fluttershy? Rainbow Dash trembled in fear. Did you do this? A tear fell from her eye. In a voice distinct from her normal, a disturbed teenage male voice? Oh, are we talking about Randy Stair now? Fluttershy asked, "Do you believe in God?" I remembered this quote was associated with Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the Columbine shooters. In a highly uncharacteristic voice of Rainbow Dash, resembling that more of a timid teenager, she answered, "Yes." "Then go be with him," Fluttershy screamed in a deep male voice. What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Are we ever going to revisit what was happening with the snow and the gun? Like the detail about the gun being recently found in the snow because it didn't have any snow on it is a nice detail, but we're just going into this weird masturbatory fan fiction. This seems kind of like a revenge fantasy kind of thing. It seems that the person writing this is identifying with these shooters, you know. That's the a feeling I'm getting, and maybe I could be wrong. Let me know what you think, but I think that that's what's going on here. I think that this is revenge porn, and the worst, shallowest kind, grounded in an intellectual property that just it doesn't really suit it, obviously. But anyway, she put the gun to Rainbow Dash's forehead and pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. Pull my devil trigger. Animated brain, blood, and bone flew onto Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash was dead, and her head destroyed. I knew this was highly uncharacteristic of Lauren Faust. Oh, really? You don't say? The person who, you know, made My Little Pony isn't known for blood and gore. But I kept watching out of sick curiosity. The next minute sickened me. Fluttershy carved into Rainbow Dash's flank. Crack whore. Oh, gotta put that moral degeneration tag on here from ehentai.com. The sound of cutting flesh was highly realistic and almost made me throw up, but I kept it down because I'm a pro gamer. "That will teach that bitch," Fluttershy spoke in her normal voice. The screen went black. I figured this would be where a commercial would normally air if this sick episode was to be actually released. I paused for a moment. Would Lauren Faust write No, why is our narrator this dumb? It doesn't make any sense. Would Lauren Faust write this? Is Lauren Faust a serial killer? Find out. Game theory. Why would Lauren Faust write this, especially after the recent chain of school shootings? This couldn't be her, could it? I unpaused and decided to continue the episode. The next scene was the Sugar Cube Corner, Pinkie Pie's place of residence and employment. Are we just going to hit up every locale in in Equestria from My Little Pony? Oh no, would Fluttershy really kill off the cakes? Suddenly, I shuddered, but I knew I had to keep watching. Mrs. Cake went to check upon the babies, check upon them. Pound cake and pumpkin cake in the nursery. Yeah, we know if we know who the cakes are, we know who pound cake and pumpkin cake are. We don't need to say their names. It's okay. When Mrs. Cake entered the room, the scene skipped to Mr. Cake, who was sitting in the kitchen, drinking his morning beverage. You mean coffee? His calm drinking was interrupted by a blood-curdling scream, one that marked me with sorrow. I feared what would happen next. Mr. Cake ran into the nursery and saw a horrible sight. Mrs. Cake emitting a cry of sorrow. It panned to her front. To her horror, laying in front of her were the twins. Dead. They were tinged with the sickening shade of blue. Both of the Cakes started crying in sorrow, realizing their children were dead. How sick and tragic. I think Lauren Faust would be sensitive to the fact that some viewers might have lost infant siblings to SIDS. Oh my god. Why are we mentioning sudden infant death syndrome if the children were murdered by Fluttershy? Yes. We found out what sudden infant death syndrome is actually caused by. Yeah, okay, what is it? Bullet wounds, being shot, yeah. Am I wrong? Or is this not Lauren Faust, but rather some sick copycat? If that was not... I love how this person is treating the show My Little Pony as if it's written and animated by one person. If that was not sick enough, the next sight would be sickening, would sicken almost any viewer. Pinkie Pie walked into the doorway. She was limping and clearly unstable. She stared at the Cakes, and then she uttered in a sickly voice, "It wasn't SIDS." Oh, what was the clue? The bullet holes in your children? Why would you think it's SIDS? Pinkie Pie then collapsed in the doorway and started seizing. Her eyes rolled into the back of her head, and she started vomiting this foamy substance. That's a cool visual. Her eyes started bleeding as she rolled around on the floor. The Cakes ran for her attention, but they were too late. She stopped breathing and her heart stopped beating after a minute of seizing. Her breath was heavy. Minutes of seizing, the hooves are ready. She was dead too. As the Cakes mourned for her too, the camera zoomed in on the dead twins. I paused and zoomed into their faces where I could see some slight bruising around their snouts. Now, I am no expert. Okay. But I believe that something like this could be a sign that they were smothered. Okay. So they weren't shot, they were smothered. The closet door opened and Fluttershy popped out. What fun is life without a little death? I recognize that quote from the journal of Dylan Klebold, one of the Columbine. Yes, we know, you already mentioned that. Who Dylan Klebold is. Alright. To continue, Fluttershy started shooting at the Cakes. It was really brutal. Blood and gore flew around the room. Oh, hey, bug, in my room. Blood and gore flew all over the room as the Cakes breathed their last breath. They were finally dead after taking about 100 rounds to their body. That's all it took? Is 100 rounds? After everyone in the room except Fluttershy was dead. Excuse me, or don't. She walked towards the body of Pinkie Pie. She grabbed a knife and carved into Pinkie Pie's side. Drunkard. She had shot up the school. She destroyed the Apple family farm. She slaughtered Rainbow Dash. She did something to Pinkie Pie and the Cake twins to kill them, though it wasn't said what exactly killed them. Now, it should be obvious. She shot up the Cake parents. I knew there were going to be more victims. Fictional victims. That's the problem that we always get into with these kinds of things. Fictional victims. Why should we care? I guess some people do care what happens to fictional characters, but the point remains. Why are we caring about this? Do you have so much empathy that you're able to misplace it onto fictional ponies? I knew she would go after the rest of the main six, not including herself. Really, she would. Well, I don't know. A lot of these school shooters kill themselves, so why wouldn't she go after herself? This left Rarity and Twilight Sparkle, the master race of unicorns, along with whoever else would get in her way. The screen faded to black, and in white font, this message showed up. I want the world to burn. I want to burn the world, rather. God damn it. This stuck even more fear into me as this was a quote from the journal of Eric Harris. I was sick to my stomach now, but I had to keep watching. Well, if you have to keep listening as well, I'm afraid that we're going to have to take a break here and return tomorrow with the second part of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Goodwill DVD. Now, if you enjoyed that, consider helping out the community and supporting my channel. You can support the community by conversing in the comments below, going to creativehorror.com, that's creativehorror.com, for a whole host of horror-based podcasts specifically for artists, writers, and anyone creative. You can support me by subscribing to the channel, following me on social media, links down in the description, and pledging to my Patreon, which is also down below. Thank you so much for your time, and now on to our sponsor at this non-moment in time. Backyard fun. Backyard fun. Hula hoops and mud digging.